Hello, my name's Jane Pierce. My business is Tarot Jane. I'm excited to be here to talk to you today about the four suits of the tarot cards and the 16 court cards that are part of those four suits. If you want to know more about the numbered cards, which are ace through 10, there's a video on that. And if you want to know more about the fifth suit or the major arcana, there will be a video on that as well. So let's dive into talking about 16 cards that are part of the personalities, the characters that we get expressed through the tarot cards. Let me share my screen and we'll be going. So tarot cards and their meaning, we've got four suits and their court cards. First, let me review just a little bit about what the four suits are. Each of the four suits has an element, has a direction, has a season, time. Let me start talking about those. We always start with swords because air starts the suits of the elements. The direction is east. Think of it as spring, so the first season of the year, or dawn, the first time of the day. This is beginning time. And like everything, a beginning has to start with a thought, with an idea, with a discussion, or even just words in your own head. So we start with swords, and they also represent the start of things. The realm that they rule is the mind, their thoughts, their words, their intellectual, and swords being what they are, they're also the most conflicted. This is not swords as in fighting, it's more like the pen is mightier than the sword. And so how do our words and our thoughts create conflict? You'll see that on the Ace of Swords in this picture, there's a crown because it is also about conflict and winning wars. When we look at the wands, their fire, their passion, their living, their doing. This is, think noon and the heart and the heat of the day. This is summer for the time of year. This is active, busy, ambitious. This is passion, not as an emotion, but as a burning desire. Again, those fire words get in there. And you'll see in the Ace of Wands that that wand is growing, it's living, it's continuing to spread or having its energy move forward. Our cups are emotions and water. They're west. They're the ending season, so fall and dusk. They deal with our heart. They deal with our intuition. They deal with our emotions. These are tears of joy and sorrow, both ruled by cups and water. And you'll see there's also the peaceful dove and a symbol of spirituality there with the cup, because in that Ace of Cups, thinking of the Holy Grail, there is intuition and spirituality as much as emotion. So when we say in English, I have a feeling, I might have a feeling like sad, or I might have a feeling like mad or glad. I can also have a feeling like an intuition. So there's those watery feelings in the cups. That is what contains the water. And our fourth suit is Pentacles. That's earth, that's solid, that's grounded, that is north as a direction, although it's inaccurate on my slide, I'm sorry. The season is winter. It's the time of hibernation. It's a time of midnight sleeping. It is our body. And just like things start with our thoughts and then we get busy about it, we have feelings about it, the ending of it is when we manifest it. We either bring it into the world in our body or bring it into the world as a creation, an act of physical manifestation. So grounding, but also embodying is the realm of the Pentacles. And that embodiment can mean money. It can mean our body. I think of earth and Pentacles as the bones in our body, the bricks in our home, and the gold in our wallet. So physical, money are some of those things. Let's go a little farther now. We've kind of covered all of these things, and you'll see a simple laid out here. So let me keep going. You can come back and freeze this pane if you want to grab this as a screenshot to use as a handout, or you can come looking for handouts on my website. So let's talk now about the swords a little more in depth. There are four suits. And there are 4 parts or 4 roles. So here we have the King of Swords, the Queen of Swords, the Knight of Swords, and the Page of Swords. And all of those swords are using the realm of mind and thought and conflict. You'll see they each hold a sword. If you have a non-traditional deck, I would hope that all of your swords at least symbolize that sword. You'll see the airy symbolization in clouds. You may see the color tones to be stormy or cloudy. These suits, these 4 court cards are intellectual, and you'll see a theme running hopefully in the colors of all of them. Then the wands, all of these should have some fiery colors, whether your deck is traditional or not. They may have passion, they may have sunflowers, they may have wands, they could have staffs. You'll see a fiery, you'll see action, you'll see movement in all of these cards. The cups will be a little more emotional or intuitive. This is Galahad holding the grail, searching for it. This is the symbol of the fish and Pisces and the astrology that goes with the water signs, just like the wands go with fire signs and the swords go with air signs. This water is emotion and intuition, and it's about our heart. It is also one of the actions is containing. This is the container that holds the fleeting feelings. This is our physical body responding to emotions, not the body itself, but the physical reactions of them. And finally, pentacles are slower, they're more solid, they're more grounded, they're more physical, earth and money, practical. You'll notice this horse is standing still from the gallop of the swords, slowly moving down to the earth where we are the most solid and grounded. And again, you'll see the 4 elements, the king, the queen, the knight, the page. I want to look now at just the kings. And the kings are the top of the suit. They are managers sitting on their thrones. I think of these as introverts, removed, a little distant. They are straightforward and linear, hierarchical, and often, while powerful managers, they are removed. They are not in the heart of the work. The swords will be more intelligent, intellectual. They are good judges. You want them to be objective. You want them to be fair. The King of Wands is more charismatic and visionary. This is a pop star. This is somebody with passion and style. Emotions are what we get from the King of Cups, or intuition. They tend to be generous. They tend to be a master of their feelings. They know how to channel their emotional need into a direction. And finally, the King of Pentacles, they're prosperous and they're also enduring. They've mastered that slow, grounded energy. So persistence and sometimes stubborn is what you'll see here. We'll hold off on their more negative characteristics for the end. Let's talk about the positive ones first. In the queens, you get more extroverted. They're mature, they're rulers, but they tend to be more among the people. Think of the captain of a team as the queen kind of leader, where the coach is the king. In the Queen of Swords, you have a strategist, somebody goal-oriented. The Wands, you have a cheerleader, somebody cheering you on, enthusiastic, charming, and again, part physically in the action. The Queen of Cups is a psychic, somebody who's emotionally skilled, but more accessible than the King of Cups. And in the Pentacles, you get a fertile, comforting, solid, more grounded. This is most likely to be a hostess rather than a cheerleader like the Queen of Wands out at the game. The Queen of Pentacles invites you to come to her house afterwards for a meal. So the male or female, this queen role is a more connected and more communal component of the card. Still mature and masterful, but more in the mix than removed, sitting on their throne above. The knights are in the action. Here you'll really see that galloping of the Knight of Swords, the movement of the Knight of Wands, and the slow walk in the Knight of Cups and the standing still, the plantedness of the Knight of Pentacles. These are smart and analytical, and they're pursuing, they're going after what they want. Of course, the Knight of Swords is moving fastest with ideas and air and analyzing. The Knight of Wands is passionate and daring, and also in hustling, ambitious. The Knight of Cups is more idealistic, smoother, sweeter, more romantic. And the Knight of Pentacles is more useful, more grounded, more practical. This is where the money meets the road. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we put the physical work into doing it. All of them are going after what they want. All of them sometimes lack forethought. The Knight of Swords lacks planning the most, and the Knight of Pentacles has the best shot at thinking about what they're planning, what they're doing, not thinking intellectually, but practically looking at what's coming. Now the pages. Pages are messengers. Messengers who bring the action of their suit and information about it. So the Page of Swords is observing and changing and talking intellectually. The Wands is about an active opportunity, someplace where you could work with ambition. Cups is dreamy and emotional. This might be a psychic message. This could also be an emotional hallmark card that stirs your feelings. The Page of Pentacles is stable. They are talking about money. They're talking about your body. They're coaching you to, or giving you information so that you can make healthy decisions, whether financially or physically. All right. If you've got questions, feel free to pause, contact me on YouTube, or replay some of this. I'm going to keep going. So we've talked so far about the positive parts. I'm going to talk a little bit about the less than positive parts, because tarot cards are representing of people. They are not representing of perfect. So while the swords are still an element of air and it's things that start and spring, think about how the swords are always what starts it. So a sword court card comes up and you're like, oh, they're starting something. Also, think of the weather in spring being fickle, and there's a sword sense of that air switching, changing sides. Their addiction, if they've got one, is to conflict or to winning at all costs. And they're hungry for being right, being first, being fast. The Wands are our fire sign. They are from the south. Think about summer, and the hard part of summer is you want to do it all. This is not a place that starts it, but Wands will stir it up. They are the second person into the fight, not the first, but the second. They're busy, they're active. Their addiction is to attention. They want more spotlight. They want more movement. They want more action. And they're frequently hungry for power. Where a sword wants to be right and have intellectual knowledge, a wand has got more of that sense of, I want to be in charge. And if they're too hungry for it, they'll do whatever it takes to get that power. Not all wands, not all fire signs are like that, but it's the negative side of it that sometimes best helps us identify where a person belongs. In cups, we have water in the west. Think about in the fall and how we look back to summer. So this season is for people who tend to be living in the past. These are people that are reacting to what's happening instead of staying current and being present to what's happening now. They're always reacting to the past. They're living in their heart. They tend to be a little bit more emotional, sometimes more victim. They're into escapism. If intuition is the positive side of cups with our feelings, then escapism and drinking and delusions are the negative side of cups, avoiding our feelings. And finally, cups are hungry for approval. They want to be liked. They care about how you feel. If the swords want respect, the cups want happiness. They want to make you happy and they want you to be happy with them. In pentacles, we have a more grounded physical and financial thing. Think of winter when we hibernate. Think of the end of the day, in the middle of the night, tucked in your bed or pulling the covers over your head. The pentacles want to hibernate. They frequently want to end it or run away from it. They're in their bodies, but sometimes they're too much in their bodies. If they can't see it or touch it, they don't believe in it. They're addicted to money or to looks. How does this look? As in, am I beautiful? Or what does this look like? Does that give me prestige? They're hungry for luxuries. They're hungry for wealth, stability, and security. Again, all of the cards represent people, both their good sides and bad sides. So we're looking right now at their bad sides, and now we'll go look at some examples of the court cards. These are court cards examples that I've tried to get a wide variety of them. You will find people or categories or even computer apps, because court cards, although they were originally from the 14, 15, 16, 1700s, we've adapted them. We don't have a lot of messengers right now or pages coming in to announce things, but we do have apps. So if the role of page is to be a messenger, think of what brings messages: email or a dating app. So let's look at that a little more. A messenger can be a study buddy. It's younger. The page is the youngest, so even pre-adolescent energy, and they're sent to do a job. So this is when you're acting young, but it's also when you're being without gender. So a study buddy, not a boy or girl, not they, he or she, just a study buddy. If you're in a swords, or it can be somebody like Hannah Montana, an artistic person who's young and still striving. I'm going to contrast that with Miley Cyrus, who is the Knight of Wands, in my opinion, where you see the young character of Hannah Montana as the actress matured. She became a teenager and became more sexual and aggressive. Going back to messengers, in the cups, one of the messengers of emotionalness is a dating app. A messenger of intuition could be your tarot cards. A messenger about pentacles might be a message from an app that's telling you to get working, get your steps in. Your Apple Watch could be a messenger of pentacles for physical health, or it could be a financial health, a note from your broker. The Knights are pursuing active. Think of all the energy and impetuousness of adolescence. And their drive can come as a tutor, somebody who's trying to help you be smarter, pass a class. They can come like Miley Cyrus, who's a more aggressive performer. It can be Prince Charming, and they can be somebody who's pursuing you, the perfect date, the court, somebody courting you. Or in Pentacles, they can be an Olympic skier. This person is often more singular. The messenger, if they are a go-between two people, the Knight is a pursuer. I'm alone on my journey and I'm going, racing down the hill as a skier. So think about people in sports who are more single person sports. When we get to the Queens, we're talking about extroverted team players. So a high school teacher who's more accessible to their students. Joan of Arc, who's passionate and fought with the soldiers she led. People in this tarot class or watching this video would be an example of a Queen of Cups. They are coming together to lead each other into a better understanding of their intuition or their emotions. This would also be a therapist. A Queen of Cups could be somebody who's guiding you. But like many therapists, this is somebody who is in it with you, who is willing to cry with you. Or in Pentacles or sports, think of Meg Rapinoe. She's a leader, but she's also a player. She fought not just for her own financial equality, but fought for all of the women in the soccer league to get financial equality. That's what we mean by those extroverted leaders of a community. And the Kings are a little bit more isolated. So if a teacher and in a high school classroom is the Queen of Swords. The textbook author who wrote alone is the King of Swords. If Joan of Arc's passionate being in it is the Queen of Wands, then the King of Wands is Iron Man. Passionate, probably a little arrogant and cocky, but certainly not a team player. For cups, I think of Pamela Coleman Smith. She's the woman who did the art on these cards that I've showed you. She wasn't given credit as frequently as A.E. Waite, who is the author, but her intuition and her expression of the depth of the psychic nuances and the images in those cards, although she didn't work with communities, she worked more alone with her art. She's a great example of the King of Cups, and also a good reminder that gender is not what we're talking about in our modern understanding of what kings and queens are. Finally, Tony Robbins would be one way to look at a King of Pentacles. There you see the gap between his financial success and the people he's leading. There, when you've got that big gap between the teacher or the person who sits above on their throne isolated, you're talking about a king as opposed to the queen who's a leader and among people. Let's keep going and look at what are some bad examples of court cards. So if a page is a messenger, a bad page is a gossip. If the knight is a pursuer, then in its worst examples, it's a fanatic. If the queen is very communal, at her worst, she's codependent. And if the king is a little removed from it all, it can often be a narcissist. I'm not saying that everybody is a narcissist or a codependent or a fanatic or a gossip who shows up. I'm saying when they show up and you are dealing with the negative side of them, this is the negative side. You could have a reversed card that indicates it's only the negative part of that characteristics, or you might only work with upright cards and know somebody by their disadvantages or their difficult components as much as knowing them by their positive. So let's go through this real quick. The page would be somebody who steals your ideas in the Page of Swords. The fanatic of Knight of Swords is a word cop or somebody who's all talk and no action. A codependent Queen of Swords would be somebody who's super critical, who is always correcting and naysaying, or who won't do the idea on their own. And finally, the King of Swords could be a narcissist, a judgmental lurker, know-it-all. Let's go through those now for wands. The gossipy wands is somebody who talks about how you look, who criticizes your style or your art, your presentation, rather than your substance. The Knight of Wands, if they're in the negative part, they start too much and finish nothing. A codependent wand in a queen would look like somebody who's OCD, who can't sit down, who can't stop. And an unhealthy King of Wands would be an egomaniac. And that King of Wands would have certainly phallic symbols of the tower involved in that if they're masculine, or have other ways of expressing their egomania. In the cups, I'm going to run through that. Cups are gossip. And so they're into emotional drama. They're not talking about how you look. They're talking about how you acted. Did you see her reaction? That's a cup gossip, an emotional gossip rather than a style gossip. The Knight of Cups would be a player. If a romantic knight in shining armor is a positive cup, then a gigolo or somebody who is playing people, male or female, someone who's getting around a gold digger might be considered a cup if they're marrying rich, or they might be pentacles if they're in it for the money. A codependent queen of cups would be a religious fanatic or a relationship addict. And a narcissist king of cups would be a depressed or addicted or emotionally isolating and controlling person. When we get to Pentacles, those bad habits, the gossip here is always talking about keto or their diet or their workout. They are always gossiping and talking about what they're doing and what other people are doing monetarily, physically, and don't seem to have depth. A fanatic for a night is workout crazy or a con artist. This is somebody going after your money. A codependent Queen of Pentacles would be a perfect hostess. And there is a codependency part of that. The perfect Martha Stewart type who wants to show off their status, or maybe even has an eating disorder. And finally, in a narcissistic King of Pentacles, you're dealing with a pyramid scheme, somebody on the top who always a greedy boss, a CEO who's raking in the bucks and screwing the company. Again, not all CEOs are bad, but certainly when we're looking at the bad qualities of them, this is what we get. And finally, one of the ways to look at our court cards is comparing them to Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is a copyrighted item. The way I look at it is that a page is an extroverted censor, thinker, and judger if they're in a sword. And if you have not researched the Myers-Briggs court card or Myers-Briggs types, skip this part. I'm not going to go into all the details except to say that E is extroverted and I is introverted, and you've heard me talking about that. So pages are extroverted, knights are introverted, queens are extroverted, kings are introverted. You can guess that the sensory detailed people are the one type of category, and the more intellectual, intuitive people are another. The T stands for thinkers, the F stands for feelers. So of course, the cups are feeling and the swords are thinking. And finally, J's are judgers and P's are perceivers. Think of that, the difference between the judger who cares about the end product and the perceiver who cares about the process. Now let's look at the worst part of those court cards or Myers-Briggs indicators. Well, maybe we won't. All right. So I think we're going to stop there. I'll talk to you more about what this is on another thing. Thanks a lot for joining me. Oh, there we go. We got it. Never mind. Let me do this last slide really quick. The reason I want to talk about is Myers-Briggs has categorized people into these 16 types, and we just happen to have 16 court cards. So let me just hit really quickly the bad characteristic. If you get the Page of Swords, somebody might be being inconsiderate. If you get the Knight of Swords, maybe somebody's oblivious to feelings. The Queen of Swords, they're prioritizing others and not thinking about their own needs. There's that codependent part of the Queen. And the lack of affection would be a King of Swords downfall. The Page of Wands would threaten to quit. They don't want to do it. The Knight of Wands would be a doormat and not be doing a good job of fighting, of pursuing, being active of what they want. The Queen of Wands is doing too much. The King of Wands is overthinking everything. The Page of Cups is hard to get their attention because they're torn all the time by all these different emotions going on. The Knight of Cups is avoiding conflict. The great part of them is they are smooth charmers, but the bad part of them is they don't want the fight. A difficult side of the Queen of Cups is a neediness. Difficult side of the King of Cups is expecting family to read their mind and know what they want. In the Pentacles, that Page of Pentacles dismisses other people's feelings. They only want the facts. The Knight of Pentacles stuffs their own feelings as opposed to dismissing others. The Queen of Pentacles is stubborn, like a Taurus. And the King of Pentacles is anal retentive and very controlling about the physical parts. Of course, all people have good and bad, and we can all find this in us. This is just a way to help you peg either the people in your life that are reminiscent of these court cards, or what are they the court cards trying to tell you when they show up in in a reading. If you're looking to do some homework to develop better your own sense of the court cards, then look around your life. Think about the people in your life or the characters in the movies you like, the art and song, the performers you enjoy, and think of which one they would be. When you do that, you're taking the archetypes of these 16 court cards, of these 4 suits and these 4 roles, and you're bringing it into your own life. And it might be what helps you read tarot cards. It certainly isn't true that every time the Queen of Swords comes up, I am reminded of a difficult and exacting teacher. But that exacting and sometimes difficult teacher helps me describe the actions of the Queen of Swords. So I hope that this is a lot of information that you can absorb. Hit pause when you need to, take your notes, and join me once a month for a Zoom class where we practice using this knowledge, ask your questions about this information and others, and join me in person once a month at our place in Ferndale at 2505 Hilton, and find my Facebook or website to get more information about the classes. Join me to practice this information, because while it's a lot of data, it's only if we use both the intellectual sword part, the active wand part, the emotional and intuitive cup part, and the practical pentacle part that we master not just the 4 suits, but our own gifts. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.